What you see behind me is the beautiful lake in the northern Thailand city of Payao, and we've gotten here after 3 of the most spectacular days of riding I think I've ever experienced, and we've gotten here riding these 2 motorcycles. Now we'll get back to what that riding is all about because you're here to know about these bikes. This is the new R3, this is the new MT-03. They're both launching in India very soon. They're both great motorcycles and there's quite a bit to talk about. Now the R3 is a familiar motorcycle in India. It was sold for a couple of years, right up to about 2019 when the bike was ended before the BS6 regulations. This motorcycle is a familiar one. The MT-03 is completely new for India. We've never had this bike before. Now both these bikes are surprisingly familiar under the skin, so let's start talking about the one we know better, the R3. Now if you remember the old one that was sold in India, this has a different face. It's not that completely modern Yamaha sport bike look. You don't have the centrally mounted projector headlamp. Slightly more old school, but I think it looks fantastic. Aggressive, sporty, good-looking machine. And another really nice improvement is that it now comes with an upside-down fork. Not as fat as the KTM fork, this is a 37mm USD, but it gives the front end a much better sense of design. Further back, lovely layered fairing, small details in here like these gills like you'd see on the big R1, a Yamaha badge. Very nice finish on the entire foot peg holder, lovely finish on these heel plates, and that is the theme with these motorcycles. We'll get back to it in a bit. You will see that they're really quite simple compared to what's on sale today, but what you get is beautifully made. The sense of quality here is fabulous. Now, that's the design on the R3. Let's talk about the MT-03. Obviously, the big difference is that face. It's a naked motorcycle and it looks quite good. Similar to the MT-15, but I think this is a nice looking thing. You've got these little wings built in here, some little air scoops in there. The other big difference is in the shape of the fuel tank. They both hold 14 liters, but the MT looks and feels bigger, especially when you're sitting on the motorcycle. Now, speaking of sitting on the motorcycle, both these bikes have 780mm seat heights. That is really quite low. In fact, for someone tall, it's worryingly low. But somehow Yamaha's managed the ergonomics quite well. We've been spending 8-10 hours a day in the saddle, and it really wasn't bad. The surprise, however, was that I found the R3 to be more comfortable. Now, I've thought about this quite a bit, and I think it comes down to the fact that there's more room for your knee out here. So you can move forward and back a little bit more comfortably. The slight lean down to the handlebar also relieves a little pressure on your backside. And over long hours, I actually found this to be the more comfortable motorcycle. Now, bear in mind that the roads here in Thailand are fabulous. We haven't hit a pothole, we haven't hit bad stretches. So you're not really loading your wrists under constant braking or getting beaten up on bad roads. Let me show you what the MT looks like. Now, the thing here is that this motorcycle also has the same seat height like I mentioned, but the fuel tank sort of locks your leg into place. Not a lot of room to move around. You feel like it's more cramped, although both bikes have pretty much identical tail sections. So this was unanimously the bike that the shorter riders in our group preferred, but there were 3 of us who were over 6 feet tall, and all 3 of us thought that the R3 was more comfortable. That being said, this is definitely more upright, nice commanding riding position, and that fuel tank feels good. So that's how they feel to sit on, but now let's talk about the exciting part of the Yamaha R3 and the MT-03, their engine. This is still a very familiar motor, 321cc parallel twin engine. It makes the same 42 horsepower as before, about 29.5 Newton meters of torque, and it loves to rev. First off though, let's give you a taste of what it sounds like. At idle, not so exciting. Sounds almost like a single cylinder engine, but when you rev it, it sounds good. And chasing that 12,000 RPM level meter is great fun on these motorcycles. Now these bikes are all about the high RPM performance. But that being said, they're really tractable engines. You can stick it in 4th gear, 5th gear, ride around as low as 30-35 kph, which means that in the city, they're really easy, peaceful bikes to ride. Now again, we haven't dealt with any heavy traffic. Weather out here is lovely. I'm actually wearing a jacket in the morning, so I can't tell you what the heat is like, but the effortlessness of riding these bikes in the city out here has been great. That being said, the clutch really isn't as light. Yamaha calls this a light clutch on their website, but I didn't think it was that light. Not particularly heavy, but if you get stuck in a bad Indian traffic jam, that may get tiring in a while. Nevertheless, where you'll really enjoy this engine is out on the open road. The performance is beautiful, linear surge, it just keeps building and building and building, and you are rewarded for chasing the red line. Performance-wise, this has always been a quick motorcycle. They both feel equally quick. The R3 sort of protects you from the wind a little better, so on the highway, even though you're sitting like that, it was a little more peaceful. Both bikes can hold 120, 130 kph all day long. Top speed is well over 160. We didn't really go looking for it, but performance is a strong point. Now, the new Aprilia RS457, and they are a little bit down on par. But let me tell you this, the Yamaha R3 has won the last 3 years of the Indian National Championship in the Supersport 300 to 400 category. The R3 race bikes have beaten the KTMs and the factory racing TVS bikes. The first 2 years were won by 11-time national champion Rajni Krishnan, and this year's title was taken by Rajiv Setu, who also rides for Rajni's team. There is a huge amount of potential in this motorcycle. That being said, what you get right now, fairly simple. The brakes, 298mm front disc. It's not a radial caliper, axially mounted caliper, simple brake master cylinder. In fact, that is the theme of this motorcycle. If you look at the display, it's a simple LCD display. There are no fancy TFTs here, no riding modes, it doesn't get traction control, it doesn't get a quick shifter, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't even get a slip and assist clutch. And that is the one that sort of annoyed me, because you're riding hard, you drop a few gears, and the rear wants to hop, it doesn't feel very smooth. I wish this bike had a slip assist clutch. It would have also resulted in a lighter feel. Some of the roads out here were third gear, fourth gear corners. Hit a bump in the corner and you will feel that the rear is a little too soft. When that happens, you'll also be aware that these Dunlop tires aren't so great. They're all right, but when you're on the edge of the tire rolling on the gas, it feels a little greasy. You feel like there isn't as much grip as you'd like, and you've got to be careful with the throttle. If you want to ride these bikes hard, I would suggest putting on a better set of tires. As for suspension comfort, there is an underlying sense of firmness, but the suspension has a nice plush feel within that limited range of motion. I think this will feel quite similar to the old R3, and the old R3 was really quite nice in India.
We don't need scars just to know we're human. We can let the world just tell us so. Light ourselves up when we're out of love.
That effectively is what both these motorcycles are about. They feel light and very easy to manage, and they're also good fun to ride, both fast and slow. But at the same time, they're also very simple machines. In some cases, this simplicity is quite nice, but I also found myself missing a few features, and I wish the brakes had more power while riding hard. For people looking to upgrade from the R15 or the MT-03, you will find much more performance and comfort here, but you will be missing some features for sure. The bigger challenge is that these bikes are coming to India as CBU imports from Indonesia, and they will remain imports for at least the first year before Yamaha starts to move to some localization.
The result is that they're both going to be fairly expensive. Now, as you can see, the only differences between the two is the fairing, so both bikes will be quite similarly priced to each other, and we're looking at a price tag of about 4 to 4.5 lakh rupees ex-showroom. That is expensive, especially when you consider that the Aprilia RS457 is about to launch in India soon, and as we reported, that bike is likely to cost below 4 lakh rupees. Yamaha may have a bit of a hard sell on their hands here, especially for people who worship a spec sheet and want features. But having ridden these bikes for the last few days, let me tell you, there is a particular charm about riding a simpler motorcycle, and the Japanese execute this really well. The bike is not full of frills and features. You don't even get adjustable levers. The swing arm is a simple steel unit. But all that is okay, because to ride, these bikes are wonderful. To look at, the sense of quality, fit, finish is fabulous. It's a rewarding thing when you have a well-built, well-engineered motorcycle, and that's what both these bikes offer. They probably won't sell in big numbers, but those who buy them will probably be quite happy.
Before we end, special mention must go to the amazing roads around the northern Chiang Mai region. These are some of the best I've ever ridden on. Traffic is very light, the weather is beautiful this time of the year, and Thailand is really easy to get to from India. Fuel, food and accommodation are all delightfully affordable as well, and it's very easy to rent a bike or sign up for a curated motorcycle tour of the region. If you dream of going on an international riding holiday, Northern Thailand is a fantastic experience.